wanted to give you my reaction to the comments that you just heard from Chief Arradondo, and then I'll open it up to any questions you may have. Chief Arradondo has my 100% support. He is the right chief. He is the right leader at the right time to lead us forward. He's the right person to lead our department through a full-on cultural shift and restructure in terms of the way that our Minneapolis Police Department does business. Chief Arradondo's decision to withdraw from the union contract negotiations is the right one. It shows courage, it shows integrity, and he has my full support. Additionally, the new partnership that we have in conjunction with the Joyce Foundation and the Minneapolis Foundation around the early intervention system is very much needed. Having the willingness to both invest and use in that technology shows his willingness to challenge the status quo, to effect the culture shift, to demand greater accountability, and to use real-time data to get that early intervention to prevent the wrongful conduct from happening in the future. Chief Arradondo right now, and you saw this during the press conference, is leading our city forward in a beautiful way with clarity and purpose with respect to the Minneapolis Police Department. And I want to be very clear. We don't just need a new contract with the police. We need a new compact with the police. One that centers around compassion and accountability. One that recognizes that the way things have been done for decades and decades is not acceptable. We need change. We need to go farther than we ever have in the past. It can't be lip service. It can't be the status quo. And when we look back many years and decades from now, we need to understand this point in time as the moment where we made a decision. Where we made a decision that the years of lack of accountability is unacceptable. That a restructure is necessary, and we are committed to it. So, in seeing through that dramatic and sweeping change, I want to be very clear that I have Chief Arradondo's back. I also want to be very clear that this is a person who's born and bred in Minneapolis. He came to the Minneapolis Police Department to make a change in community, to keep people safe, and to deliver service that was, at the time, a very new model. That's the model that he brought when he was a beat officer on the north side. That's the model that he now brings to the chief's office. This is someone who quite literally sued the Minneapolis Police Department for racial discrimination, and he won. Now he's our chief, and he has my support. I have the utmost confidence in our partnership as we move forward to be able to see that full revamping and structural change and to heal our city. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Mayor, have you spoken with Council President Bender or any of the other council members who are talking about defunding the Minneapolis Police Department? And what have those conversations been like?
Yes, I have had a few conversations with council members that talked about ending the police department, and there are various different words that have been used, and I do not want to put words into their mouths. What I will say is that I am committed to that deep structural reform. If you're talking about having a full culture shift in the Minneapolis Police Department, I'm on board. If you're talking about making sure that we aren't criminalizing poverty or addiction and making sure that we have a different conceptual approach to how we handle it, I am fully on board. But if you're talking about abolishing the police department, no, I am not. I've made that clear.
What are the practical implications of withdrawing from these negotiations? Do officers work under the most recent terms? Does that go away? And do you need to do anything procedurally, either in the courts or with city council, to withdraw?
Well, from a basic procedural standpoint, by withdrawing from the police contract negotiations, there won't be additions in pay. There won't be a number of other facets that we want to be negotiating on. I don't want to tell you too much about what those negotiations might be because it would ruin the leverage that we presently have. And by the way, we've got a lot of leverage right now. We want to be able to channel all of this anger and sadness and frustration towards a shift in the way that we do business. And right now is the time.
Mayor, the chief said he's spoken to Lieutenant Bob Kroll. He's made his feelings clear to him. He didn't discuss with us what those conversations were. So he sort of shied away from any questions about whether he thought he should resign as part of this restructuring. What are your thoughts on the future of Lieutenant Kroll leading that federation?
I've had several conversations with Chief Arradondo, although I have not spoken directly with Bob Kroll. And let me be clear. The rhetoric that Bob Kroll has put out is detrimental not just to our city, but also to the police department. For someone that complains so much about a lack of support and trust of police officers, he's one of the primary reasons for that lack of trust and support. I've been very clear about where I stand with regard to his comments. And, like I said, we are in conversations right now, and I've been talking with the chief as well.
Does that inhibit his presence? Does that inhibit the restructuring that you see is needed?
Lieutenant Kroll has not been helpful in any way, shape, or form to generating accountability and measures of reform that we've been trying to see through. And I want to be very clear that for generations now, through many different administrations, you've had progressive, forward-thinking mayors and chiefs that have been committed to seeing change. And if we're going to ignore the elephant in the room, we're going to continue to not see the progress that is necessary to be made. And what I'm talking about very clearly, that inhibition to progress, that elephant in the room, it is the police union, it's the collective bargaining agreement, it is the mandatory arbitration provisions that are going through state law. So when we look at reform, we need to be identifying the necessary buckets that need to be changed. Some of it is city policy that in some instances can be done unilaterally. Some instances, that unilateral nature is obstructed by the police union contract itself and the negotiations that we go through on a regular basis. Some of that is the arbitration and the laws that have been set up through the state level that prevent us from seeing full accountability. When I say culture shift, let me talk about what I mean. Culture shift, to a certain extent, is about people. People build culture. The way you shift the culture is you get the right people into the jobs that have that mentality of compassion and care and respect for the dignity of every single human being, and you're able to get the individuals, the officers, out that do not have that mentality. And there have been more than a few instances in recent and past years where chiefs and mayors alike have tried to discipline and or terminate, and the discipline or termination works its way through the system and at some point hits a roadblock.